to the 6, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, bout to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip, who you with?
Welcome to the RC Halloween special. I love Halloween. I've come to realize that. I've always loved it. My birthday's in October, and then like 2 weeks later was Halloween. So like growing up at school, it was always really cool. You'd have your birthday, and then 2 weeks later, it was like all the Halloween stuff. My mom used to sew costumes, and like have a side hustle because all the girls in my class wanted like Disney princess things. So my mom would get like the template for it and make it for them and like sell it. So it was like Halloween was like a busy month, or October was always a busy month at my house. So joining us for this, somebody else who's a fellow Halloween autumn enjoyer. He's usually worried about what kind of foliage, what kind of colors the leaves are going to turn in his hometown of St. Louis and stuff. He's very much into the season of Halloween. It's Scott from the Coast to Coast episodes. Not if you guys haven't heard him, except if you listened to the Paranormal Summit from a couple years ago. But go to rarecandy.substack.com or rcnow.org to get signed up to listen to all those great Coast to Coast episodes. I think people have listened to them for like a week's worth of shows. Like you can listen to them for like a week because we do a lot of time. But Scott, how's it going?
Good. I actually didn't know this was like the Halloween special.
Yeah, I mean, we're full transparency. It's like late September when we're recording this, but I just wanted to I wanted to cover this movie for Halloween because it's kind of newer to me. We'll get into that, but it is I know you love the horror sci-fi kind of genre, and I know you love Clive Barker. But what are your plans for Halloween this year if you have any?
I mean, nothing really. Just this is my favorite. I don't know if I'd say like Halloween's my favorite holiday. It's probably Christmas, but it's my favorite holiday season for sure. And it's just that like you said, like with the foliage, I always get like really stressed out that we're gonna have like an unusually warm October or something, because it's like happens sometimes where like the leaves like aren't even like changed yet by like Halloween night, and it's just like depresses the fuck out of me because it's like this is like the last gasp where you can like enjoy the weather before winter comes in, because usually by like mid-November it starts getting really shitty here. So then the seasonal depression comes in and whatnot. So I try to like I'm always like hoping it'll be like a perfect like October, and it's hot right now, which is pissing me off. But I really do love Halloween a lot. I love the season. I always have. I know it's like a big thing now for people to kind of shit on Halloween because it's become like a Bugman thing or whatever.
Horror in general, just the horror genre, I think.
Right, and I get that, but it's like I don't know. I'm not gonna like just because like a lot of like annoying millennials, have got I'm not gonna let them like ruin the season for me. So I typically like this whole month, like all I watch are like horror movies and stuff like that. I try to do like everything. I like everything to be like seasonably appropriate as much as possible. So
nice. Now, besides what we are going to talk about today, which is Hellraiser and some Clive Barker, what else is like on the docket for watching in Halloween season this month? Is there something you haven't visited in a long time, or something you've never seen that you got on the calendar?
Right now, I've been rewatching that Masters of Horror anthology series that aired on Showtime from
never heard of it.
I did 2007. I told you about that. There's 2 episodes that are written.
I mean, until you told me. Yeah, I hadn't heard about it.
Yeah. Oh, you never heard of the show? Like
no. I did. I am very horror like new. Like it. I like horror movies, but I don't know about like that's not a deep cut. But like I don't know about stuff that's beyond like Friday the 13th or like, you know, shit like that.
Yeah, it's a good show. Like I think it was pretty popular when it was on. Because there's just 2 seasons, but it's called Masters of Horror because they had every episode was directed by like a fairly well-known like horror director. Like John Carpenter did 2 episodes. Like Joe Dante, the guy who made the Gremlins, he did a couple. And it was the show was like produced by Mick Garris.
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy who he basically was like Stephen King's go-to guy in the 90s. So like I don't know if you like seen any of
Stand.
like,
did he do the Stand?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
That.
Yeah.
He that miniseries, which I actually just bought the Blu-ray a couple weeks ago and just watched that for the first time in a really long time.
Does it hold up?
So it's all right. I mean, it aired on ABC.
Yeah, I remember. I liked it. My mom had. I think we rented it from Blockbuster when like Blockbuster started carrying it like as a thing. Maybe that's how I saw it, unless we saw it on some replaying thing. I feel like that's how I saw it, and I liked it at the time. But I have a feeling I'm like, I'm gonna cover The Stand at some point, so I'll probably revisit it then.
Yeah, it's a 6-hour miniseries. I bought the Blu-ray for it's like $10 on Amazon. It's definitely worth just buying it and revisiting it. But yeah, he also so he mostly did like this TV miniseries. He did a bunch of the TV shit with him.
Did you do it?
No, I don't know who the hell did that because that was 1990.
Yeah, that ruled.
I think his first thing with Stephen King was Sleepwalkers. Have you seen that?
No.
I came out in 1992, which that was released theatrically, and then after that he started doing the TV movies. But Sleepwalkers is interesting. It's not based on a Stephen King book, but Stephen King wrote the screenplay, and it's about like these like killer. These like humans who like can like morph into these like cat creatures. It's pretty good. It's very 1992, but it has like a cool atmosphere to it that's like missing in his TV miniseries because TV, especially like 90s TV miniseries, they're all kind of done like in a sort of like a flat style.
Yes,
if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like they're not very like cinematic looking, but like Sleepwalkers was like a theatrical horror movie, and it kind of has a cool tone to it because it opens with an Enya song. That song, Bodicea, however they like pronounce it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like her like spookiest song,
That's tight.
And it has like a cool like that song I've always like I kind of liked the movie just because like it opens with that. There's like this like big soaring shot where the like song plays for a while, and then it plays a few other times I think throughout the movie. So it's kind of cool.
Nice.
But then he also did that infamous Shining remake.
Ooh.
Have you heard of that? It aired,
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's fucking bad.
It's really bad.
Well, that's like the funny thing about Nick Garris is like his like whole like career is basically because he's like friends with Stephen King for some reason, and he's not. No one would really call him like particularly that talented, but he always got like a shit ton of work. But he created the show Masters of Horror though on Showtime and in the mid 2000s, and so he was like the showrunner of the show, and so he directed a couple episodes, and he did one of the episodes that was based on a Clive Barker screenplay that was decent. But then he did another episode called Chocolate that he wrote himself and directed. It's by far the worst episode of the series. like it's like really, really bad. So
that's funny. I feel like Stephen King latches on to people who just listen to him. Ever since Stanley Kubrick, like there's kind of the infamous like Stephen King not liking The Shining or aspects of The Shining. I feel like Stephen King likes a yes man. I mean, right now, what's the guy's name that right now does all his stuff? I can't remember what his name is. My mom loves him. I think he's just whatever. But the guy who does all his new things now, it's already escaping me. Low Res would know who I'm talking about. But like he does all his stuff, and I just have a feeling like Stephen King has to have some input or something on these things. And I feel like a lot of like accomplished horror directors would be like, man, fuck off. Dude, Mike Flanagan. That's the guy I'm thinking of. That's the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. He did Dr. Sleep.
I didn't think that was that good.
Yeah, and he also did Gerald's Game, that Netflix movie.
That was that I liked.
Yeah,
that one I liked. But he's doing something else. I think he's signed on for a Carrie remake. I don't know if it's a series or a thing, which I'd be mortified of, like a 20 25 like Democrat Carrie remake. Like I'd be mortified of that, like a teen girl kind of thing. Like just no.
I mean, they already made one like in 2013 that one with Chloe Grace Moretz.
That's
which was
right.
okay. Like I don't know
Yeah,
why
that's
they
right.
bother.
That's right.
Man, Stephen King's really been bumming me out because I like really think he's probably senile, like legitimately senile at this point. I'm guessing. Like, I think he's actually like crazy. Like, I don't think he's just like a dumb boomer libtard. I think he's actually possibly just straight up nuts now.
Well, you think he probably opened the Democrat Hellraiser cube. I feel like he has it like his own version of like opening yourself up, and like the Cenobites are just like Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow just throwing punishment at him. You know, because he's insane. He's insane. Like when Charlie Kirk died, he was just like, this guy said stone gay people to death. And then like he deleted all his stuff because I'm pretty sure he got like legal, like his legal team was like, dude, don't say that.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, and he was just like firing it off like a boomer would on Facebook after like a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just depressing. I think the most recent thing I've read that he's written was that anthology book, After the Sunset, came out in 2008. I don't think I've read anything of his since then, so I'm just like pretending he stopped existing up to that point. Because
it's a shame, man. I revisited Pet Sematary last year on audiobook, and it's read by Michael C. Hall, who does an excellent job. And it's like, fuck, I forgot how brutal and evil this book is.
Yeah.
Like just like you think he's like, you kind of forget he ever had a fastball, you know, like, or really had like that in him, because you're kind of like, man, the Stephen King I know now is like talking like the opening of one of his like new books was just like, this guy died because he refused all treatment from doctors and didn't listen to science. Like that's like the new premise, or like the opener, the hook for his new book or something. And you just realize you're like, damn, man, you'll go way back then. And it's not like he was a Republican back then or something. It's not like he like switched up, but you're just like, man, he actually really had like that evil sense to him that made it scary. I mean, like it made it real. And I thought Pet Sematary held up so well. I was mortified. And it's a great audiobook. If you have like an Audible credit or just like looking to listen to something, it's brutal. Like, I think if you have kids, like I can't even imagine like listening to it now. I'd forgotten how like traumatizing it's supposed to make you feel. But wow. Yeah. My wife tried to read his like hard fantasy fairy tale, it's called.
Recent one. I remember seeing that at Target.
She put it down after like 30 pages. She's like, this is awful.
Yeah, like I know there's people who like speculate he like stopped writing his own shit a while ago because like he could be using a ghostwriter, because like he just either maybe he's just not trying. I don't know, because he's been cranking out the books like a little too fast. Because I find out about his new books when I see them at Target. Yeah, I always have to check out. That's how it's like every like 8 months I feel like I see a new one.
Yeah, it's like Stephen King. It's like Stephen King, Nora Roberts, Barbara Kingsolver new books, and you're just like, well, I guess those fucking 80-year-old people are just cranking them out still.
Yeah, and it's just like hard to believe. I can believe he could do that in the 80s and 90s, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, when he was like blasted on like coke, like, and drinking all the time, like I bet he would just write shit like fast, like Philip K. Dick style, like just like a bunch of books in like a 6-month period.
That's what he did do. Like he did like the Bowie thing where he like said he doesn't even remember like writing Cujo because he was so fucked up during it. Like
I could see that.
And he but yeah, anyway, though him and like I don't know like what his relationship is with Clive Barker at the moment, but in the 90s they were really tight with each other. There was a TV movie. I can't remember if it aired on cable or if it was a network, because it's not fucking streaming anywhere, and the DVD's like super expensive now. But it's called Quicksilver Highway. It was a co-production he did with Clive Barker. Came out in like the late 90s. I saw it like ages ago, and I don't even remember what it's about, but it's just two different stories. Each one was by Stephen King, one was by Clive Barker, and Nick Garris directed that one too. And I really been wanting to rewatch that. But yeah, like they were like really like, I think like Stephen King actually had a lot to do with Clive Barker becoming so famous, because Clive Barker was kind of considered the British Stephen King.
Wasn't there like a quote where he was just like, he's the next thing, like Stephen King like wrote him like a really favorable blurb, like at the time where like a Stephen King blurb was like literally added commas to your sales, like
yeah, it would be like on the cover of all his books. It said like I've seen the future of horror, and his name is Clive Barker.
There you go. That's the one. And like first off, if he said that about me, I would say it on every book I write for the next fucking 30 years. I would put it on there. But yeah, so we are talking about Clive Barker today, and particularly Hellraiser, because I've always wanted to cover this with you, because for one, I'm ashamed to admit it, I just didn't grow up watching a lot of like franchise horror series. Typically when I find out there's like 10 of something, I'm like, I get kind of like thrown off by it. But I had heard from multiple people that Hellraiser was really good. And my wife and I, it was either last year or the year before, I was like, have you seen this? She's like, I don't think so. But you just know Pinhead. So you're like, yeah, that's that movie with the guy with the nails in his head. And we put it on and I was like, oh, this is completely not what I thought it was. This is like trashy, like soapy horror. Like it's really trashy and misogynist and like, I'll say it, like gay, like, like it's definitely like a gay guy like writing this. And I mean that in a good way. It's not a pejorative. And I didn't even know he was gay, but then I found out he was gay. I was like, oh, okay, he's a gay guy. And then I found out that it was based off a book. It's when you say it's based off a book, he wrote the book for it to become a screenplay. It was one of those very much like, this is how my creative process is to write this down in pseudo prose style, and then it gets adapted, easily adaptable. And I read the book because I was in the middle of a book that I was not enjoying at the moment, and I was like, man, Halloween's coming up. I read it in like a day. It was so good, and it read so fast, so quick, and quite different than the film. Definitely, there were some liberties taken with the film that I think were good. Like there were a lot of not corrections, but just things that made the movie, the stakes higher in the movie, creepier, and all that stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But what's your experience? I'm sure you've known about these films much longer than I have. So,
I'm actually like a perfect person to have on to talk about this.
I know,
because okay, so I was like a horror kid in the 90s, like when I was like in middle school, and I had like very lax parents when it came to like watching stuff. And like by like 5th grade, I was able to like watch or read anything I wanted, especially like read anything. Like my parents were just glad.
Yeah, reading was never an issue for me.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of people like say like shit like, oh, I read such and such book at like 12 or whatever, and a lot of times they're full of shit. But like I really would like read like very graphic shit in middle school. And my dad, he would take me to like almost any like fairly well known like 90s horror movie. My dad took me to see in theaters like when I was like in middle school, like starting at like the age of like 10. And so
is there a famous one you remember watching with him being like, I can't believe I'm watching this with my dad?
He took me to go see Bordello of Blood, that Tales from the Crypt movie.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
I remember how that kind of gave me like bragging rights, because like that was the kind of movie like no one's parents would let them go see, because it's like it takes place at it has Dennis Miller in it. It's about a whorehouse with vampires. That was like, and I was like 10, I think, when that came out. So like it's like lots of nudity and shit. Is the second Tales from the Crypt movie after Demon Night. I don't know if you've seen that one too.
No.
Okay, you guys, that one's really good actually. But Bordello Blood's all right. But he it's funny, he actually though, so also, have you heard of Lord of Illusions, which was directed by Clive Barker? That movie was not rated. The MPAA would not give it an R rating, which I still do not know why. And my dad tried to take me to go see that in the theaters, and they wouldn't let me in because I was too young. Because it was one of those movies, since it was not rated, like minors weren't allowed in, period.
Like even with the parent?
You'd actually really like Lord of Illusions. It's not based on, well, it's kind of based on a short story that he wrote because Clive has this series of like anthology series
Yes.
of short stories called the Books of Blood.
Yes.
I think the story is based on one of those, but you'd actually like that. It's like a cult noir.
Yeah, it looks
thing. It's
sick.
Like, yeah, it's like really atmospheric. I still don't know why. Like it was not. It was considered too graphic for an R rating. I really don't know. The only thing I can think of is there's like a part like towards like in like the beginning of the movie where there's this like cult that gets like raided and they have like a baboon chained up, and it's like implied that they were forcing women to have sex with this baboon.
Wow.
That's like the only thing I can think of that would maybe make it too
I mean
extreme.
that might do it. Yeah,
It was
but
just that was just like a funny memory I have though. So anyway, though, I was like really into like horror in a way that other kids weren't because like I had a subscription to Fangoria magazine. I don't know if you know about that.
Yes.
Okay, so like that, if you were like a hardcore like, horror kid in the '90s, you read Fangoria, and that's how you knew about everything. Like that's how you got it. You knew about like direct-to-video shit, you know. And so it was like perfect for me because like I lived like walking distance from Hollywood Video. And so, and my parents like did that thing. They like, signed that like permission slip, or you minor like you were allowed to rent anything you wanted by yourself without like a parent being present. So I would like, dude, when I was like 10, 11 years old, I would like read about like these like horror movies that were kind of like niche or whatever in Fangoria, and I would like ride my bike to the video store and rent it like by myself, and they would like rent. I had like permission to rent them, you know. So anyway, though, I got really, really into Clive Barker, and because of Hellraiser. Because I went to I think it was partially because I went to a Catholic school, which I talked about last year when we did Coast to Coast, a decent amount. And so I think like I was really into like hell, like anything to do with hell.
Of course, same.
Hell was like really big in the 90s, which is like funny because like atheism wasn't cool or anything like that. And it was all like tongue in cheek. It was all like not sincere.
Well, and nobody who was making these movies grew up in an atheistic society at all. Even if it was big in the 90s, like these people, it doesn't leave you like that. Like nobody's growing up atheist. Like right now you have people that grew up atheist, like Zoomers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't like, even if Clive Barker, I know Clive Barker, he's like, from what I know, he grew up kind of religious, like in a religious family, whether he maintained that or not. It's still in the films. Like you still see it, you know, like you still see it throughout there because it just stays on you. It's such a big part of your life, even if you go to church like once a week and don't even participate in all the other, you know, extracurriculars. But people now who make horror, like they might grow up with like a Christian grandparent and like project all of the evil onto them. Like my Christian grandpa didn't want me to transition, and now I saw the TV glow or something. I have no idea, but like you have people like that who it's just like it's why a lot of stuff falls flat because like they don't fear hell. Like I fear it. It's scary. Remember do you remember that video when AI came out of hell, where that somebody said AI thought of a video of hell? It was actually really scary, especially because if you're scared of AI, like you and I are, like it's like what? And this was like when AI could only make like Will Smith eating spaghetti weird. Like that was the only. Like AI now is like doing all types of crazy shit, which everyone said wouldn't happen, but whatever. There was like a video of like hell, and it had like sound of people screaming in hell, but it was like so uncanny and like off, and it was really scary. And I was like, wow, I'm totally with you. Like hell, you said in the 90s was big. You had the Ninth Gate. You had like even movies that weren't like horror. You know what I mean? There was a lot of hell. There was that movie From Hell, which I know wasn't like hell, but I think it was just hell. The things that said hell, like we're just
like when Jason goes to hell.
That's right. Ernest goes to hell. Yeah.
Well, okay. So at the time, though, too, there was this comic book series. Well, it's actually still out, I guess, but it's called Spawn. Have you heard about Spawn?
Of course, John Leguizamo movie, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so that came out. I think that series started in 1992, the Spawn series, and that was like the biggest like independent comic book of the decade because it wasn't put out by like Marvel or DC.
Oh, I always thought it was. See, I always thought it was one of those two.
No, the dude who created Spawn. I'm sure most people listening to this know what Spawn is.
I was gonna say I'm the retarded one. Our listeners are like, you fucking idiot. Yeah.
But like, okay, so it was created by this guy Todd McFarlane, and so it was an independent comic series, and he put it out through this publisher called Image, which he like co-owned or whatever. So he was able to like since he owned it, he made like all the money off of it basically. Okay? So he became super fucking rich. He was so rich. Like, dude, he sold millions and millions of these comics. He was the guy who bought Mark McGuire's 62nd home run ball.
Really?
Yeah, that was him.
Sick.
And he was super fucking rich, like before the movie came out. And so the comic series was like a phenomenon. But it's about a guy who is kind of a superhero guy, but it's about a guy who's like a special forces agent. He dies and then goes to hell and then makes a deal to come back to Earth from hell. But then like he's allowed to come back, but then like hell still like kind of controls him. And he turns into this like thing. Yeah. But it was very, very gruesome and shit. And like just tons of hell imagery, lots of demons and stuff. I was like obsessed with it. It was like my favorite thing ever. The action figures were really, really big too. And you could buy the action figures like everywhere, like Kibi toys and shit. Like those are big. But I think like most like parents probably didn't even know like how graphic it was. And I learned about the existence of pedophiles through Spawn comics.
Really?
Because like I talked about this with Helen Newton one time. Like he was like
no, you don't say. Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, like because dude, like one of like the first villains in it is a pedophile ice cream man, like who kidnaps children, like and like murders them, but then like there's this whole like infamous issue where he like dies and goes to hell. And I literally learned about the like I was like,
yeah.
I remember like, okay, so it came in 92. I was too young to read it when it first came out, but I started reading it when I was like 10 or whatever. And I like caught up and like, so I would like buy like back issues and shit like as much as I could to get caught up. So, but yeah, like, so anyway, that was all about hell. And my favorite band at the time was White Zombie. Their whole thing was like Astro Creep 2000. That's a very like satanic album. Like if you ever look at the CD booklet for it, it's all pictures of like devil women with X's on their heads and shit. And like,
wow.
And like I have a copy of the CD in my car right now. And so yeah, anyway, like hell was everywhere. And it's just like so funny to me because like now like being like a Satanist is like this huge, stupid Reddit thing that like liberals will like defend and they think it's like cool or something. And like back in the days, like hell was like a big thing in pop culture, but fucking no one was actually into Satanism. Like,
even black people like DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and it's very like biblical, like Damning You to Hell album. Like,
like no one genuinely thought hell and Satan were cool. Like you didn't actually think it was cool. It was just like an edgy thing because it was like entertaining. You know?
Now they think they're like actually Christians go there. That's like what people think now, and you're just like, all right, man, whatever.
And it's so funny because like I said, like I went to Catholic school, so that like naturally just made me more interested in hell because it made it seem more edgy, even though like my parents weren't even particularly religious, like they didn't give a shit. And so it's funny though, because like now in St. Louis, like so St. Louis is a huge Catholic city. There's Catholic schools everywhere, like tons and tons of people go to Catholic schools. It doesn't mean anything. In a lot of cities, like if you go to a Catholic school, it means you're rich or something. But here it's not like that. There's so many Catholic schools, like people from like all social classes.
It's like old school New York. Like it's like poor kids would go to Catholic school in
New York. Yeah, exactly. Because they're all like underwritten by the archdiocese or whatever. Right. And but it's like funny. I guess I'm going off on a tangent, but it's funny now because like you meet all these like libtards who are like elder millennials, like around my age now, who like they'll talk about like going to Catholic school and like in the 90s or like early 2000s, act like it was this like horrible, traumatizing experience. Like fucking no, it wasn't, dude. It was just school. Like most kids who went there were not religious. Most people was like religious. It's literally just like you would go there if your parents didn't want, like, because it was like an option, because there was always like a Catholic school in your area, and if your parents didn't want you to go to public school, you just go to Catholic school, and that's basically what it was. Like very few people.
Yeah, you'd have a Muslim in your class, like.
No, you wouldn't have that.
We did in California. You'd see Muslims at Catholic school because it would get you like a sick, like a striver thing, like like they would like play the part, whatever. But we'd have that.
I'm pretty sure here you have to like prove that you were baptized at least to get in.
Wow.
But, I'm pretty sure, but like literally though, like it was basically just school. Like it was that wasn't there were just like smaller class sizes. There was like 60 kids in my class, but like it wasn't like fire and brimstone or like super strict. There weren't like fucking nuns like whipping you with like rulers and shit. But people talk about it like it was like that.
Like Pink Floyd. It turns into like Pink Floyd. The wall.
Like, yeah, I believe it that they were like that in like the 1950s, but
Yeah.
it really wasn't, you know.
Yeah, for sure. No, you talk because like when you read about like old British boarding schools, like those ones I believe where they'd just be like, oh, I had to drink the feces soup after me classmates shit in it, and you're just like, damn, dude, like this is nuts. Like, and I actually like believe that and stuff, but anybody who's like 38 right now, like I'm like, no, dude, you did not go through that. Like, it's okay. Like, you sat through church and you thought it was boring, it fell flat, you learned what atheism is in college or high school or whatever, and you it seems to be working out great for you, I guess, because all you do is cry.
It's just so funny because all it really was like, okay, you had to wear a uniform, and then once a week, like on Fridays, we would have to like go to mass in the morning, and that was basically it. Like, other than that, it was just like any other school. The teachers were just normal people too. They weren't priests or anything, you know.
Yeah. So with Clive Barker's like the Hellraiser thing, I noticed like right off the bat, it's like I could just tell this wasn't like, this is what's like missing nowadays when you watch something that's supposed to really creep you out about hell, because the first one, like, hell's not really a thing in the first one. The second one is hell. And the first one you have, it's like I said, it's really like just like a trashy like soap side plot with like demons involved, essentially. Like, you just have this British, really cold, like British woman who's just like not hiding her disdain for her, like, you know, it's actually kind of mean how soy they make the husband in the first.
Oh, he's like way too nice.
Yeah, and he like comes to her like a child with a cut, and he's like, like showing it to her. So like you suspend your sympathy for him for a second. Like, you're like, no, I hate this guy, but like he's not bad. He's not really like a bad person, but like you're just like, man, he is like straight up like something like you would see a meme made of on like Twitter nowadays for like a bug man husband. Even though he just wants to refurbish his like brother's house.
He absolutely though is like a real type of like divorced boomer though. Like, so many like he's like so many like, dude, how many people do you know? Like, neither of our parents are divorced, but like,
right,
how many people
I know many
whose parents got divorced and their dad just married some total psychopath bitch like immediately? Because like boomers just they get divorced and they had to get remarried immediately. Like, none, like, especially the men. The men are actually seem to almost be worse about it.
Yeah.
Like, and because it's like Julia. Okay, so like it is like a very like misogynistic. The book is more misogynistic than the movie.
The book is insane. Yeah,
because it actually goes through everything that's going through Julia's head, and like the way. So it's like a very like gay form of misogyny, though, in a way that he
knows girl secret. He knows little girl secrets like that straight guys don't really get unless they've been with that type of woman. But even then, you don't know more than her friend at brunch, you know?
Yeah. It's just the kind of like observation you'd make when you don't have like pussy blinders on, where you can just like see straight. So like, he knows how like Julia is like very, very obviously a sociopath.
Yeah.
But like, her husband is such like a happy-go-lucky guy who's like madly in love with her, and he like, just does not see it at all.
The guy who played Scorpio in Dirty Harry, the killer, and he's in the villain cop in Cobra. Like, this guy, but he's just like a soy dork. But
that actor is really good.
I love him. His Alan. I can't remember his name, or something. Robin. I can't remember. But he's great. He's like he's just this like because he has to eventually, even though you know it's not him per se, he has to like be Frank, and he's even worse than like actual Frank. Like once he plays him, when the skin's like put over his head, it's like wow, like the come to daddy stuff. And that, now I want to talk about the book here for a second, because I think 90% of people, if not more, who are going to be reading the Hellbound Heart, which I do highly recommend. I wouldn't spend an Audible credit on it, because it's like you're going to get it done in like 3 hours. So, you know, if you only have a monthly credit on that, like just literally like just get a copy of it. Like,
it's on Kindle Unlimited if you have that.
Yeah, exactly. It was free with your Kindle membership. Do it that way, even if you're like typically like an audiobook person. But there's this like part where the original like leader of the Cenobites is like a woman in the book, and she's like spreading her pussy on the top of a bunch of like dead skulls, and stuff, and it's just like, whoa. And he's just like, and it's also call back to our Malachi Martin episode. It's like an androgynous, but like with a pussy thing, where it's like Malachi Martin always talking about like Baphomet being like trans in a way, or like androgynous, and it's like really crazy. Again, do you do that in the movie? Probably not. You're probably gonna just make Julia the sole evil woman in the thing. It makes more sense to like concentrate it on that. But then also in the book, you have Julia is just like a friend of the family. Like, she's not the daughter that she is in the movie.
Oh, yeah. It's actually confusing if you watch the movie first and then read the book.
She wants to fuck the guy like the whole time. Like she wants to fuck what's his name? The main guy. Like she wants to like have sex. She's like jealous that he didn't pick her the whole time. So again, it's like it's even more gay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like even more like gay observational than the movie is. Like,
yeah, the cool thing though, also, like, I mean, obviously way more people have seen the movie than read the Hellbound Heart. So when you watch like the Hellraiser movies, they always like go into all this like detail where like, these Cenobites are always talking about, oh, we're gonna, so basically what happens is if you open like this puzzle box, there's this puzzle box and you open it, and even if you do it on accident, these demons called Cenobites come out, and then they take you into hell, and you basically go through it and eat. They put you through it's just like this horrible experience where you're just like receiving pleasure and pain at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like when you watch the movies, they're always talking about like, oh, pain and pleasure, but all you ever see is people just being like tortured and shit.
Yeah.
But so in the Hellbound Heart though, it actually explains where like the pleasure comes in. And so they'll talk about how like it goes into detail, like when Frank first opens a puzzle box, it talks about how it's just like he's like coming just like buckets.
Yeah, and
like in a hellish way.
And he tastes like, meat. He tastes meat inside his teeth from 3 days ago. That's such a weird way to like say.
Yeah, it's basically all your senses get like heightened to such a degree where it is actual hell. Like where technically you feel good, but it's hell because it's also awful. Like just to be like coming nonstop and just like sexual pleasure to the point where it is just like agony and like being stuck with that like. So it's like it's a really cool like concept that like Clive Barker came up with. I feel like
and I figure I can almost picture Frank calling into like Art Bell like at some point and be like, yeah, Art, I found this cube and I opened it up and it felt like this was happening. Hey, this is Frank from so and so. Who's this calling? And then turn your phone radio off. But then he would be like calling in and just being like, I did this and it's felt sexual. It felt very sexual and like at the same time, but I was also getting like ripped apart and stuff at the same time. And it was crazy because like that is like half the coast to coast like demon people are like these like thrill seeker people that just like don't know when to stop a lot of times. And like the people that play with the Ouija boards, the people that do all of this stuff on coast to coast, it's just like Frank type people who don't sound as like evil as Frank when you hear them speak, but you're like, you're probably a weirdo, dude.
Or people like fucking around with cursed artifacts like on purpose to like see what happens.
Yeah.
God, I really wish I could remember which episode it was because it would be such a good like snippet to play. There's that one episode where Art like starts the episode off and he's like flabbergasted, begging the audience to stop mailing him cursed artifacts in the mail because he has to like destroy them all.
Yeah,
I really wish I remembered which episode because that's so funny. He's like being like dead serious. He goes on for like 15 minutes just begging people. You guys have got to stop mailing me cursed artifacts in the mail. I do not want them. Like I have to go through all this whole process to get rid of them. It's scary as hell.
I bet, dude. It is scary. And so yeah, I like that. I love that part. It really works as like a companion piece for the movies because, like you said, you get the visceral, like gross horror of like the first meat hooks like pulling in, and then in the second Hellraiser movie, you get kind of the genesis of Pinhead, which I think is so scary. Though, like hammering the very symmetrical lining up of the nails, like if it was all just like scattered like schizo nailing of nails in a head, it wouldn't be that scary. But the fact that like it's so calculated and like expert contractor done, like into a head, like you see that happen, and you're just like, it's all of these people who, you know, because like in my opinion, in the first movie, you don't really know until the very end that like the Cenobites are like capital E evil. You know, like I don't know. It's maybe people disagree with me there, but you get the idea that they're just like a matter of fact kind of thing. Like, well, you fucked with this, and this is here. Like that's your consequences is the Cenobites. But then in the second movie, you're like, oh no, like they're actually just like super evil. Like they're just evil people that follow you around, and like you will never get rid of them if you ever expose yourself to them. And they are there for evil. I don't know if you feel the same way, but in the first movie, I thought they were more like here to save the day, kind of.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Because all right, so the second was interesting because it's like a horror fantasy movie.
Yes,
and it has like a way like bigger budget. And Clive Barker didn't direct it, but he was still like involved with like making it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hellraiser 2 actually was probably my favorite horror movie as a kid. I loved it because it's kind of like watching like Labyrinth, the movie, like the kids movie with David Bowie. It's like a super fucking gory version of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it was like I feel like it's like a really like well-made movie and it has like a decent budget and has like good special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it was like directed by a guy who just makes like softcore porn movies. That's like only ever stuff he's ever made. Really.
That makes sense though, because the first one is kind of the same way, even though there's not like overt nudity like that much, or if at all, really. I think there's maybe slightly some when Frank and Julia are shown to be, you know, having an affair or have had an affair, like in her wedding dress, which is insane. But you know, but then in the second one, it's kind of like you get that. I actually think the second one's really based because it shows doctors as sociopaths. At times, like, because you do get that sociopathic doctor with like a torture chamber in the basement and stuff. It's really scary. The mental hospital shit is so scary in the second one, where you're like the screaming, and it reminds me of that John Carpenter movie at the Mouth of Madness or whatever. It kind of
I love
me
that movie,
which is an excellent movie, especially if anybody likes like Lovecraftian kind of stuff. Hellraiser's kind of Lovecraftian in a way, because I mean, any Lovecraft. I won't even say protagonist, but any Lovecraft main character is going to be so curious to find something that he's going to find out he never actually wanted the answer to. And that's Frank, right? Even though Frank in the first one is like, he's asking Julia, who Julia is like, this is like the real misogynist, like woman moment, like kind of stuff, is like, she's bored with her husband, never really truly liked him that much, and in the book they're really mean to him in the book, and also really it's very misogynist in the way like she processes things and stuff. But she's basically like, Frank is the wild guy, you can't marry Frank, it'll never happen. However, that right there means I can't get him out of my head. Like there's that classic, like women will want, like they're like cats, if you don't show like immediate attention, they'll come up and like lay on your lap after a while. Whereas her main husband is like, what, anything you need? There's some very funny sketches of people like that, of like the perfect little husband award and stuff, but they don't want that. Right. And except if they end up with Frank and Frank hurts them, which Frank has no desire to ever stay with Julia. You know, like in the book, he's like, I'm going to use her like to get my body back and then like, see you later, you know?
Or then he kills her as soon as the first chance he gets. But like, that's why I think like Hellraiser, like if you just like tweaked it, like the movie a little bit tonally, it's kind of like a comedy.
Sure.
Because like you could turn that into like a funny movie because of the whole premise of it is so funny. Like it's just about this woman who is taking men home and murdering them in her home and her hut and feeding them to a monster so he can turn back into a human so she can fuck him, just because she fucked him like a couple times in the past and can never get over him. And her husband is such a happy-go-lucky like simp. He has no idea whatsoever that's going on, and there's dead bodies piling up behind a locked door in his house, and he has no idea they're there.
I love in the book when she has that thing, he goes, this would be the perfect master bedroom, and she's like, no. Yeah. Like, I don't want, this will not be the master. He's like, what the fuck? This is the perfect room. And she's like, that's the Frank part of that house. Like, she doesn't even know it yet. But like his blood, of course, summons Frank because there's nothing more powerful than like the actual like related blood relative blood. But I also love when Frank is looks like the Body Worlds exhibit, like when he's like almost fully there. He looks like the Body Worlds. Like my mom took me to that in I've talked about it on here a few times, but like my mom took me to that, and it was like they were like, damn, like how'd they get all these fucking bodies? Like this is crazy. And then you find out it was just Chinese like peasants. Like, because everyone, they tried to be like, this is what happens when you donate your body to science. We can research it. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm sure these like Chinese guys donated their body to fucking science. These guys that were like pushing rickshaws around and like whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. And it was like really gross. But that's what Frank looks like. He was like when he has the veins all on like all over the place. And he's almost like kind of phallic looking. Like, it's so gross.
Yeah. And then the second one though just like ramps it up even more.
Yeah,
it's like it gets like fucking gruesome. But yeah, like with the doctor, then when he like the way he like summons Julia. I'm guessing most people listening to this probably haven't seen the second one, but a lot of people have seen the first one.
You should. Yeah, you should definitely see it. Actually, I can't assume anything. You know how many people said they hadn't seen the damn Godfather when I covered it? They were like, oh, I haven't seen it. I was like, that's insane. You know, so I can never assume anyone's seen any movie that we talk about.
There's a huge mental block for people just not to watch anything from the 70s, but
and also,
yeah.
It's 3 hours long. So I know a lot of times you're like, when am I gonna, like, if I didn't watch it when I was young, like I'm not gonna. The Hellraiser, you can watch both of them in the time the Godfather takes. So,
but then like Hellraiser 2 though is like basically misogynist again because Julia comes back. She's revived by this evil doctor who brings an insane asylum patient into his home, and then has him kill him. Who like the guy thinks his body is covered with insects, so he gives him a razor blade.
He's like a meth addict. That's like what meth addicts think. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then puts him on a mattress, the same mattress that Julia died in. So that's like the way it works. Is if like someone actually got sent to hell through the puzzle box, you can bring them back through the same location by spilling blood on top of it. And so he does that. Julia comes back, and then he starts like luring girls into his house so she can essentially eat them and like take their essence and turn back into a human. But then she ends up fucking him over by taking him into hell and feeding him to this like Leviathan, which is basically like the god of hell. They don't even talk about Lucifer or Satan or anything. Yeah. Feeds it to this like thing, which is like represented by this like weird, gigantic, like floating metallic object that floats around. Then he turns into a Cenobite, like a pretty scary Cenobite.
Very scary.
And then
the tie wire that goes across, like the gator wire that goes across his face, that part's really scary.
Yeah, like that used to like, because that was actually like another funny thing you bring that up because like that's another thing that was like a big thing in the 90s was like killer doctors.
Yeah.
So that made it scary too. Like, did you like there was that movie Dr. Giggles that came out, which is fucking retarded, but
I've never seen that one. No.
It was in theaters, but it was about like a killer surgeon and like he's like murders people and he's got the face mask on. But like, did you ever go to like when you were a kid go to like haunted houses?
Yes.
You know, yeah, like those are like a big thing here too. So we had like numerous ones. We always went every year. Dude, even when I was like kind of like a brave kid, they'd always have killer doctors where they'd have like, and back in the day, I feel like they used to be a lot gorier. Like they used to be like a lot scarier and like more extreme than they are now. So you go through like haunted houses, or I don't know what the hell what people call them. Like I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about.
They would have cornfield. I've been to ones that were in actual cornfields that were pretty scary.
Yeah, but there'd be like ones you'd like go through. There'd be like where you like walk through like rooms with there'd be like a scenario set up, and there'd be like people in like surgeons' garbs, and they'd have like a person like tied down. An operating table, and they'd be operating. Those used to scare me so fucking bad when I was a kid.
Scott, are you sure that wasn't what really happened in real life and you just thought it was a haunted house?
Yeah. They used to fuck me up. Like we had this one called the Dark. It's actually still around, but it's called the Darkness Haunted House. And it used to be, that's the way it was. You basically be like walking through like rooms and you'd be like walking through like scenarios. You'd be like watching happen. And they'd have these like surgeons. They'd like come at you. These guys like dressed like surgeons would like come at you with like scalpels and like wave them at you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So scary.
One thing I wanted to definitely, yes. One thing I wanted to talk about with the first one was also the the feminine urge to just get a boyfriend to help you with something and then just throw them, or like a male counterpart, and then just like discard him the minute he's not necessary, only to help save you later. Is the boyfriend not Julia, that was it Kirsty?
Christy.
That she meets at like when she's like hammered at the like housewarming party, and like he's just like goes home and like fucks her and stuff, and then like she like drags him through all the hell stuff and everything, and then he's like he helps her save her at the end, and then she's like, oh yeah, no thanks needed or anything, and this guy's just like all in trying to help her with this like any other guy should be like, oh fuck that, like this chick's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and then in the second one, there's another guy that she ropes in.
That's
the guy
right.
who works at the hospital. He's just instantly like, okay, yeah. She opens a portal into hell in the hospital. He's like, okay, I'll go in there with you. He like doesn't even like know her.
It's like that can't be the first time somebody told you they had a portal to hell in the mental facility. Like, dude, like, come on. So it's just the first time it was a girl that you thought was hot. Like that's the first time that ever happened. Because there's also like, I tend to think Terrifier. I want to say Terrifier 2 might have been influenced by Hellraiser 2 a little bit with like that mental hospital, especially with that like nonverbal autistic girl. Like
at the end.
Well, yeah, because you remember like she gives birth to like rebirths Art the Clown and like Terrifier 2. Like It just that totally reminded me of just like the Hellraiser. I know mental hospitals are in many horror films, so I'm sure there's other elements in there, but I definitely get a little bit of Terrifier 2 kind of vibes with Hellraiser 2. But I think Hellraiser 2 is like way scarier than 1, and 1 is just like is so trashy and fun, and like because one part I love about 1 is because in the book The Hellbound Heart, Julia kills people with knives and it's like really gory. I love that Julia just takes a hammer to their head. Like that's like so for some reason that's like obviously getting stabbed is like the one of the worst ways I feel like to that, like a conventional murder way. Like stabbing always feels like it would be terrible, but like just like because in the book the guy is just like starts like feeling guilty about like cheating on his wife, and then he's like, I'm in this fucking disgusting attic with this woman now, like what am I doing? And then she just kills him, and the other guy is just like gets like drunk, and it's like a reverse thing of like a woman being too drunk and like getting dragged into something, and it's like, but it's like, well, here's what happens when the roles are reversed. You die, you get hit in the head with a hammer and fed to her ex-lover.
And she feels like nothing of it. And like, it's so funny. Like, there's another like misogynist thing about is how quickly she gets talked into it.
Yeah. And then she's like, I won't do it again. He goes, got to do one more. Otherwise I'll look like this forever. She goes, oh, you'll be hot again. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That part's great. But the actress is great because she's so cold looking. Like she looks like one of those chicks that like never looks happy. Like even if she does smile, like, so I have no idea how she is as a real person or anything, but just she just looks like has like a professional like mean face.
She's just like a mean bitchy British woman.
Mm-hmm.
And did you only watch the first two? Like
I only watched the two, so I've not seen 3 and 4. Now I've heard 3 is horrible, but
no, it's not.
Okay,
it's good. It's just like tonally different. It's more like silly or whatever, but it has cool Cenobites in it. Because like like at the end of 2, how you see there's a like totem thing where it's like spinning around.
Yeah,
and you see
that's scary.
So like it like basically the way 3 is set up is this guy. I think it takes place in Los Angeles. This guy who owns like this nightclub buys that totem pole thing, and then manages. Then the Cenobites come out of it, but it has like you'd like it. It has like Seinfeld character actors in it that you'd recognize.
Really?
And it has like a heavy metal soundtrack. Like Motorhead made a song for Ozzy Osbourne's on the soundtrack.
That's tight.
It's like tonally just different, but it's fun. And then the 4th one, so Clive Barker was only involved in the first 4 movies. Then after that, he like walked away from it, but they kept coming out with straight to video ones because Miramax owned the rights to Hellraiser. So like any of the ones after Hellraiser Bloodline were it was like Harvey Weinstein and his brother at the time like owned the rights to it, and they were just like cranking out. They would basically, the way it would work is they would just buy random horror scripts and then like plug Pinhead into them and then releasing these Hellraiser movies. So like none of the movies after Bloodline are like necessary to watch necessarily. They're not all bad, but the fourth one then though, Bloodline, I actually really like, and I think more people like it now. But it's kind of like an anthology, and there's like different stories in it, and it takes place in different time periods. Like it starts off in the future, like on a spaceship. They have like they're doing an experiment with like having a robot open the puzzle box, and it goes back in time and shows when the puzzle box was actually first created. It was like how it was made, and that's kind of like a cool story. And then there's another story that takes place in the present.
Yeah.
But then though, so anyway, if you want to like know like officially how the Hellraiser story ends, you have to read the Scarlet Gospels, which is a book that came out in 2015 that Clive Barker supposedly wrote. His name is on it, but I think he only wrote the first half of it, and then
Okay.
I think his assistant wrote the second half.
Didn't something happen to him?
Well, in 2012, he had dental surgery and then got this like really weird rare infection that went into a coma.
Damn.
And then when he came back, it took him like a very long time to recover. Like he was like fucked up. And
whoa,
like he like for like a really like a couple
literally
years.
had a haunted doctor incident. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, though, like if you want to like know like the whole like Hellraiser story, though, you do have to read the Scarlet Gospels though, because it's really the only second. Because he's written a shit ton of novels like over the years. It's kind of surprising he actually like after the Hellbound Heart came out, he never wrote an actual like another Hellraiser book until Scarlet Gospels. And so the Scarlet Gospels, though, is the character from Lord of Illusions is in it. He's like a private investigator who ends up like getting introduced to like Pinhead. But anyway, so like the whole Pinhead ends up dying, and then it's like how the whole he had announced before it came out like this is the final Hellraiser story, and it actually like explains like a lot of the shit like how like hell actually works in it and how it operates. So it's cool in that regard. And like the first half of the book is like quite good. Then the second half, though, it just like tonally like shifts.
Nah.
Starts becoming like sort of like a gory Marvel type movie thing. Like is like with like quippy dialogue, and I'm convinced his assistant took over because he has this assistant who like was like handling all of his shit and like during this time period, like including like any like Clive Barker properties with like comic books or whatever. He was like handling all that. And he also wrote a Hellraiser novel that came out after that called Hellraiser the Toll, which has his assistant's like name as the author on. So I'm convinced he wrote the second half of Scarlet Gospels because the second half is fucking garbage.
Oh.
But it's still like worth reading, I guess. But because it's kind of like tells you, it kind of explains everything in the Hellraiser universe, like what hell actually is, and like how people end up in hell, and like how hell works. And it is actually really interesting, but it has like Pinhead like rapes someone, like just like, weird details, like and like Lucifer's in it. It's really weird. It's like kind of like because like the second half of the book like mostly takes place in hell. So like the plot is actually pretty good. So like I think basically what happened, I think it's like similar to the situation with like Michael Crichton and James Patterson.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, I think it was like that. But I do think Clive probably wrote the first half of the book before his coma.
And the publisher's like, fuck this, dude, let's go. Yeah.
But then I think his assistant then took over. But I think it's like based on because like the plot is not bad. It's just like everything after the second half is just like you can tell there's like a shift. Like it feels like someone else wrote it.
Yeah. That Crichton eruption thing sucks so bad because the first chapter of it you can tell is like all Michael Crichton, and it's cool. It's about like a volcano that's about to explode in Hawaii, and like it's all about like scientists that love to surf and shit, and like in Hawaii, and they're all like cool guys and all of that, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then like James Patterson ruins it with like NCIS tier dialogue. Like just boomer TV dialogue, like where
does he even write his own shit?
Probably no. I've heard. Exactly. I think we're so far removed from either of those two guys ever touching this book. Like, because I've heard about James Patterson because he's another guy. Every month has a new book with like a weird, like that big large print font or whatever on the front, and it's just like James Patterson legend, like night legend, and it's just like a guy like whatever he made like Alex Cross and like all those novels and everything, and it's just really annoying when that happens, because I got the Audible Michael Crichton thing, and I hated it. I didn't even finish it. I was just like, this sucks. And but I meant to ask you though, in Hellraiser 2, the hell, I found the hell to, like you said, very labyrinthian. Like it was kind of interesting. Like it kind of felt like, because I remember another thing that was really big in the 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, was Egypt. Like everything Egypt, every with just like pyramids and things like that, and of course, like the Lovecraft influence with all the like weird like non-Euclidean geometrical shapes and stuff like are all in there that are supposed to confuse you. But I just remember thinking like everybody's idea of like fantasy back in the 90s was like Egyptian pyramid stuff. Like I remember the Mario 64 level of like the pyramid, and like all of these like do you remember that time, like just of everything?
Dude,
yeah,
like ancient Egypt shit from like back in the day. I love all that stuff, dude. Like I love that shit. Like, yeah, ancient Egypt is huge. And then like Stargate came out in like 95, I think. Have you not seen that?
I've never seen an episode.
Well, no, it was originally a movie.
Stargate. I know.
And then it got turned into a TV show. I'm watching the TV show now, but yeah, dude, like all that ancient Egypt shit was huge though. Like I loved all that stuff, man. But yeah, that was like the rainforest and like ancient Egypt. Those were like the two big things you'd like learn. Like they were really big when you were like a kid, like growing up at that time. But there'd always be like Egyptian motifs like combined with like fantasy stuff for sure.
Yeah, and you'd see like, and when also in Hellraiser 2, there's lots of like kind of like Stephen King like weird dream sequences where Christy is like walking around like through her house and looking at, because like Christy's mom is dead, and we don't really like, in the first two, you don't really like know anything about her, and then she like picks up a picture and she's like, oh, that's nice, and it's Julia as her mom and stuff. Like it's kind of scary. And then like she's also going through this like labyrinth of hell, and she has to save this like girl who doesn't talk like until like really the end, right? I found like that version of hell, because I do wonder, because there's like a lot of people, I know a lot of people that are like super super religious, like more than I am, who they're like, well, hell is fire and brimstone, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure there's an element of that for sure, but what Hellraiser gets right is that the pain, you never get used to the pain. Like you were like, if you were like in fire and brimstone, if I'm here for thousands, millions of years, infinity and stuff, like eventually am I just going to get used to my body being burned, but like Hellraiser's like, no, we'll find a new thing. Like we'll find a new thing that you're not ready for. And every day will be like the first time you realized you're in hell. And I like that aspect of, I haven't read these things, but I think some people talk about like Milton, like old school writers, from many, many years ago, talking about like the time loop aspect of hell, of like thinking you're not in there and then realizing you're in there. And like that, the Twilight Zone, there's like an old ass Twilight Zone episode of the guy who's like, man, this heaven, he thinks he's in heaven. He finds out he dies and he thinks he's in heaven. And like, it's just kind of this really banal situation. But the climax of the episode is when the guy goes, no, you're not in heaven, dude. Like this is hell. Like you're, and it's just like a diner where everyone's really boring and like, and all of that, and everything's like super uncanny. And then like the climax is just finding out you're in hell. And then that starts all over again. So like your hopes get up and everything. And I feel like that's kind of what Hellraiser does a little bit.
Well, it's funny because the Scarlet Gospels, like I said, like half the book like takes place in hell. And so, and it's all like canonical, I guess, or whatever. Even like the movies are still considered like canon, I guess, with like Clive Barker considers it. So like the labyrinth you see in Hellraiser 2 is not actually hell.
Okay.
It's just like it's like a part of hell where the Cenobites hang out, or those particular Cenobites hang out in.
Like the back it's like the back of the grocery store behind the produce section kind of thing.
And so like Leviathan, the big entity in the sky, he oversees that part of hell. But hell itself is actually like way different. And it has its own like geography, and it actually has like buildings and like cities in it. And there's like it's a he goes into all this detail in the Scarlet Gospels. It's pretty cool. It's just like it just sucks because the second half of the book is so poorly written. But it's actually like way more complicated. That there's even like a police force in hell, and there's like a civilization there where like people get sent, like humans do get sent to hell if they sin, but you can like have like a life in hell. You just are treated like shit.
Damn.
It's really weird.
That's kind of like that Twilight Zone episode. Yeah, like the guy's like running. He's like every interaction he has is like not that cool, and he thinks like he'll see like a girl that's attractive. He's like, "Well, I'm in heaven. I obviously get to smash." And then it like doesn't go that way, and he's just like, "Fuck, I thought like I was in heaven." Because you know the idea of us is like you think you're denied at the gate by like St. Peter, right, or something, and then like you're sent down, like see you later, just kind of like. And I still think for the most part, like a lot of people just go, well, that's what happens. But it's not really written anywhere, like in terms of scripture. I mean, maybe I could be wrong here, but in terms of like scripture of like what hell is. Like it's like you can only. I mean, the thing is I do believe those NDEs, like those near death experiences. Those I feel like those people got pretty close. Sometimes you hear people talking about like I went to hell,
dude. Have you seen that Unsolved Mysteries episode of the guy who goes to hell? Dude, that's
it's
I used to
scary.
think that was so. I mean, like I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I remember like because dude, like back in the day when Unsolved Mysteries was like always on TV because it was like a syndicated show, so it was like always on, like,
always
channels and shit. Like, oh my god, though, I remember first seeing that because it's like but it is like a true story, I guess. Like this guy who was like an atheist college professor, and he like had like a heart attack on vacation in Italy, and he says like in the hospital, he's like people like he was like in the hospital, and hell looked like the hospital that he was in.
Damn.
And then he said like he's like people came into his room, told him to get up and follow them. He followed them into the hallway, but the hallway just like kept going on and on, but it still looked like the hospital. And then he's just got like attacked by all these like people. They just like knocked him on the ground and started attacking him. And then he swears to God that he like came back to life after that and realized he was in hell, and he like changed his life around. And he like became like a fucking reverend. Who knows if that story's true, but like that's what like that Unsolved Mysteries episode was based on like I guess he's like a famous case of like one of the people who claims to have been to hell. So like,
and which is funny, did you like you think about it from this way, like did you go to hell, or were you shown a preview of it like in a way to change your life? And if you were to then ignore that, like if you had some Richard Dawkins kind of like rationalization for what you saw as this sensation of this part of your brain being, hey, people always do that like Reddit-y like brain particle thing. Like if you were to ignore that, it'd be like actually what you saw wasn't hell, but it's way worse. Like you could, like if you actually do, if the next heart attack's the big one, or the next this is the big one, then we'll show you what really what hell is. And that's like at the end of Hellraiser 1, you get I have such sights to show you. Like that's such a creepy line, and like the Jesus wept like thing where you kind of forget. You don't think of it as like a movie with like much religious allegory, because they, like you said, they don't talk about Lucifer, they don't talk about things like that. But then you are reminded like, oh, like. Yeah.
What's interesting is Clive Barker. He is not religious. I don't know if he calls himself an atheist, but I know he's like said that he's not a Christian. But so like anyway, in the Scarlet Gospels, Lucifer is in it. The whole like one of the main plot points of it is that Lucifer is in hell, but he goes missing. No one knows where he is. So Pinhead like wants to like take over hell. That's like kind of like one of the plot, and it turns out. I mean, I guess this is a spoiler or whatever. It turns out that Lucifer actually like got sick of hell, being in charge of hell, because he actually like missed. He's like he is still so pissed about being rejected by God that he committed suicide. That's why he went missing, and so it's kind of weird. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain. I feel like Clive Barker, he has a deep like respect for like the allegories of hell, like the concept of it. And like, I don't think he's like an amoral person or anything like that, but it seems like he actually does like respect like the religious like significance of hell.
How can you
It's
how
hard to
can you
describe.
not, man? How can you not? Like I struggle with people because like you've noticed like we talked about it earlier, but like most atheists like they don't believe in the concept of heaven because the concept of heaven would validate piety on earth, right? Like to them, like that, like really, like the heaven thing to them more so validates like being to you ask like any like of the like atheists of the 90s or anything, it's like, well, it's like pro-lifers, like they think they do that because like that's like heaven, but they don't know that it's nothing like after you die, so we need to make life on earth as good as possible. But like like I said, the minute one of their enemies dies, they're like, he's in hell. And it's like, so like it's like everybody knows the punishing aspects of this. Like every major religion, like Sai would argue that like Buddhism probably doesn't have stuff like that, but for the most part, like every major religion's like, hey man, if you don't do X, Y happens. Like.
Well, have you read about the near-death experiences of people from other religions that claim to have gone to hell? Because like hell is another religion besides Christianity. It's not
For
like
sure.
Christians.
No,
Like,
I not really. Not really. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, look up Thai, like near-death experiences of people from Thailand,
Wow.
because they've got some really like, to us, like people who grew up Christian, they're like their theology is like very out there. They have a very specific
Right.
idea of what hell is like, and it has similarities with the Christian idea of it. But yeah, God, it was like a long time ago. But I remember like one night I like stayed up like late, like stoned, reading about Thai near-death experiences, and specifically the ones about hell. There's like people who've like there used to be like some website that like documented them, and they were fucking crazy, like their version of hell, and like people would have like go into like all this detail, but it was all like very geared towards like their idea of what hell is like. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know, like maybe are people lying or not, but I don't know. It is interesting just because like hell is like a concept that it transcends Christianity, which I feel like I feel like a lot of people like not know that like hell is like not just a Christian concept. It's not,
No, it's not. And again, it's not up to like us as people to say who's going here, who's now I could wager on a few people I think are going, but ultimately it's not up to me. And like the near death experience with hell, I mean, sometimes it's enough to turn somebody into a believer. Because I actually probably trust the atheist professor more than most, right? Because what was his idea of hell?
Yeah, he didn't have any idea of it.
If he was a true atheist, like, and that wasn't fire and brimstone. Like, if you say you saw Lucifer with a pitchfork and like a mustache, I'd be like, dude, come on, you didn't go to hell.
But I've never heard of any NDE that is even remotely like that. I've never even heard of an NDE where people say there was like fire, like all the hell, all like I mean, like, but I've definitely heard plenty of NDEs about people who think they went to hell, and they're there was one Coast to Coast episode where someone called Art interviewed someone who thinks they went to hell, or they think they or at least shown hell. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that one? It was like
I think so. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the woman, she said she was like in this like tube that was like following around this like orb, and then she said she was able to see into hell, and it was just like basically just like it was basically just like a void where you could see people inside of it just like screaming in pain. But like I've never actually heard of one that was like a traditional like concept of hell that like people think of. Like I don't even know like where the fire and brimstone shit came from. Like
I mean, it's from that's in the Bible. It does say.
Is it really? Like I mean, I should know that's what the Catholics
in Revelations, it's fire and brimstone. So I mean, that honestly, I think that's just like what it comes from. But again, it's like mostly like this awaits you, but it's not like and here is the step by step of everything. I don't know. Again, I should know more. I am piecing my way slowly through all that, so maybe I'll have a better answer for that, and I actually would welcome comments for people who would seem to know. But I've always thought, because we covered it on here, Kevin Kautzman and I, but the Lost Highway was kind of like Lynch's idea of hell in a way. I mean, you could even argue like a lot of Twin Peaks, there's aspects of that, but like Lost Highway, like, because he sounded like there's elements of like the OJ trial in that, where it's like a guy who's just trying to rationalize like not being in his own mind, or like not remembering doing something, but then like he's constantly like building this second identity to like get away from that, and then is always reminded at the end, one, that he never had his wife, and two, he killed her. So it's like but it's like a loop, and it starts over at the end when he gets the tape again. The Bill Pullman character, like he gets the tape again, and it's like the whole thing starts over. And I've always thought that it's like there is actually like stuff we can fathom about it, and that's the shitty part. Is like you kind of do understand everything. It's just there's no like, in life, like you can be optimistic, and like, yeah, sometimes you're let down. Sometimes the thing doesn't happen. But like in this, I feel like your optimism just does nothing. Your optimism only makes hell worse because you're in hell, and that to me, I feel like it's way more banal than that. But again, I hope to never know, of course.
Yeah. With David Lynch, it's interesting because like, it's funny because like he absolutely 100% had like a lot of knowledge about like occult topics.
Yeah, for sure.
But he didn't openly talk about them really, except for like the transcendental meditation stuff.
Yeah.
But like, which is like barely a cult, but he actually knew about like a lot of like esoteric shit and was like clearly very interested in it, but he just chose to insert it into his movies. I really like wish there was like, though, like now that after he died, he would have like laid out his like theological beliefs. Like,
yeah,
he clearly had like a very well mapped out like
something. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if he was Christian. I have no idea.
There's got to be there's some form of Christianity in there, but like you said, it could be like a hodgepodge of like a few other things. Like just because again, there's like this clear, like he's constantly trying to show you evil all the time. Like Lynch, like he's constantly trying to show you evil, like what evil is, whether it's in like and like the Black Lodge, like kind of the thing, or even the Red Room and stuff like that. There's very like purgatorial and hellish kind of things about those places. And it's just like, again, there's people that like literally have entire podcasts about like David Lynch occultism that I'm sure could just run laps around what I'm saying. But I kind of thought Lynch had a little bit of like eternal damnation. I think he's on the right track. It sounds weird saying you're on the right track, but of like actually describing what that's like.
I don't even know if I believe in hell. Like, I have no idea. Like,
yeah,
like I said, like I grew up Catholic and everything like that, and like I'm like nominally Christian, but like I could barely even call myself one though, because it's not like I practice anything. But like I have no idea what I think about hell. I really don't know. I do believe in an afterlife.
But yeah, do you think like you can be with your own actions? I feel like intent matters a lot too, like intent and actual, like, because I think like being atheist is like literally like evil in my opinion. Like I hate like I feel like there's people that are atheists that listen to this, but like your atheism is supposed to be a phase if you go through it, and I honestly think it's important for people to like have a phase like that, or at least. I want to, even if some people don't, like, even if you're just your whole life, you believe what you believe, but like, there's got to be like certain times where you have little crises of faith where like you're a little further away than some of the stuff. But I definitely feel like you're punished for a life. I don't believe, I'm not as dogmatic about who gets in and who's here, this rule, this commandment, this, that, like, because again, the story of Saint Decimus, who was crucified next to Christ, saying, Jesus basically saying, well, you're coming with me. It doesn't matter. Like I do believe that there's like, it's not up to us and for us to get mad at like, and for us to even pretend that we know. I feel like a lot of times that's not faith, right? It's faith is more so like I can maybe control my outcome. But I do think like there's some people that are in hell, like straight up that are being punished forever. And like, I think there's people that are just demons too.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, okay, so like our last episode with Whitley Strieber, we talked about briefly about whether or not like some people just straight up don't have souls.
Yeah,
I feel like intuitively, if you're like a deeply let's say that concept is true. Let's say there's people out there who just don't have souls. I think like a truly like evil person, which I do believe is a real thing.
Sure.
I think they probably just don't go anywhere when they die. That's my intuitive belief.
But what is that?
Like,
but what is that like? So you don't go anywhere, but what is like maybe not going anywhere is that like banal hell? Like you don't go anywhere. It's like this, like your soul stops moving, like the euphoric feeling of your soul.
Well, they don't have a soul, so nothing happens. I think it just literally blink. I'm not even saying this is something I believe.
No, I know. I find this
intuitive.
Yeah,
it's just like an intuitive thing. Like if you're because the whole the whole thing I was talking about, or not some people have souls. That's just like anyone can have an opinion on that because there's no proof of it.
People think I'm soulless. People could think what we say is soulless, and it's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like intuitively, okay, let's say like I did believe that, which I kind of do, that some people just don't have souls. I think they're more likely to just blink out of existence when they die.
That's crazy.
I think that's what I think. Because like sometimes though, like I also like I read about like reincarnation, and there's actually some like extremely like spooky evidence that might be a real thing too.
Yeah.
Which I fucking hope it's not real, but
that's true. And I almost wonder, like, because I know, like, you're not. I know when you're like Christian, Catholic, whatever, like you're not supposed to believe in that. But like, it's really tough for me to ignore when you like hear some of the stories, and we've talked about this, but like some of the stories of like kids just knowing shit about like a past life with like unprompted or anything, like, and they just know about like, you see there's countless videos of it. It's like, okay, there's something there. Now, is it full on cut and paste this soul into this body? I don't think so. I think the way, if I were to take a stab at it, I think some of your soul stays on Earth and goes elsewhere. You know what I mean? And then like the rest of you is gone into the afterlife. And that's just what I choose to believe. I have no visual evidence or anything like that. But I wonder if like just part of like fragments of a soul, or at that point becomes an identity, like stays on Earth. You know what I mean? Like I wonder.
Well, because I believe in ghosts, even though I haven't seen one.
You're right. That's a good concept. Ghost is kind of a sense of reincarnation in a sense, and that might be the trapped soul. Maybe that's a trapped soul, like, or lack thereof. You know what I mean? Like it might not even be a soul. Like that person you say that it might be a soulless person. Like maybe they're a ghost, and that's the fate.
Oh no, I don't think that.
Really?
I think if you're a soulless person, I mean, it's just me.
Yeah, the off switch.
Yeah, I literally think if the idea that you do not have a soul exists, like some people don't have souls, I think when they die, they probably just cease to exist. Like they're nothing. I think their body just doesn't. There's nothing inside their body, like in any spiritual sense. I think like a ghost, though. I think, like you said, though, like a fragment of a soul left behind, can maybe be interpreted as being a ghost, which is a little off tangent. Have you heard J. David Osborne's recent ghost story? Has he told you that?
I saw he sent something to you. I didn't read it.
It's pretty spooky. Like he said, he was in New Mexico recently, and he said it was right across the street from a cult bookstore. And I think it was in the daytime. And he said that he saw someone walking, and they had like holes inside them, and they just like the parts of their body were just missing, and then they just like vanished into thin air.
Damn.
And I thought it was really interesting. He said it was like across from a cult bookstore, because it's like, was someone like bound? I need to ask him more details about this. He needs to reach out and let us know.
Yes.
So I wonder, was there like one of those like a cult bookstores? Because I bet there's really good ones in New Mexico.
I'm sure. Yeah. Desert places, it's pretty tough to beat any desert town in terms of a cult. I know New England gets a lot of it because of like just the, Lovecraft, Stephen King, like all of these.
Well, and it's so old.
Yeah, the colonial aesthetic of it. Like, and of course, that's some of the first of what we know of America there. But then you have like in the desert, man, you get the desert, you get that crazy like Native American stuff, which people like scoff at, like, oh, Native American, that's kind of like I'm based if you think that, but I'm like, no, they knew some shit, man. Like,
dude,
yeah.
Like, well, that's what I mean, though. That's what I'm like curious about, because like if he was across from like he said it was right across the street from the cult bookstore where we saw it. So like, I think that probably was something linked to it, and it's like I wonder if it like there was some text inside that, just the presence of a certain text inside it could have like caused that entity to like appear, which is I think is possible.
It's
It's
possible.
like, dude, like there's like ancient grimoires that are like republished and shit.
That's crazy.
From like the 1500s and shit. And, like you can like walk into like there's like bookstores where you can like buy them. And I like wonder if like the presence of like just like one of those existing, even if it's like a recent printing of it, just like the text of it being like in like a super like woo woo area, like a Native American type area, like with a lot of like weird spiritual energy going on, could like just like cause like a ghost to like manifest itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm talking on my ass.
Yeah, no, I know. Again, there's like infinite aspects of this, because like the thing that I find scariest about like Hellraiser is just the idea that like you did one thing. Like, and if you're like a anxious person like me, like you, like say you opened up that cube, like you know, yes, you had to like go seek it out, and you were like seeking out like these pleasures or whatever. But like somebody like Christy does it out of an act of desperation, you know, and in that first one, and she opens it up, and it's like they're not gonna ever let you rectify that. Like, especially
Yeah, they straight up tell her like this. The female Cenobite says like, "Oh, it doesn't matter if you open up an
yeah,
option."
like again, it's like an error message on a computer. It's like you can be like, well, that's not what I meant to do. It's like, oh, that's too bad. Like it was just this concept of like when you're, you know, if you grow up like with the Christian idea of an action, a sin, then there's forgiveness, then you have, you know, it's absolved and all of that, and like then that's the concept. Christ died for your sins, therefore if you confess your sins or whatever, or just, you know, atone for them in any way, it's gone. But like there was no form of atonement for just that act. Like that to me is so terrifying about it all. Like you take away the, you know, ball peen hammer, like slaughtering people for your ex-boyfriend and stuff, like all of that stuff. The fact that you do one thing and there is just no way out of it. And like if you're somebody like me who's kind of anxious and kind of like feels like they fuck up more than they do, like that shit is like the worst, because you're like, that's how you view a lot of your mistakes in life. So then for that to actually be the reality and you don't get that sigh of relief, that's crazy.
I think I know what you mean. Like if you think about like, because like the type of like Catholics that like used to exist back then, like for like grandparents' generation, who they like genuinely felt like if you like did something bad, didn't go to confession, and then died on the spot, you could actually like be damned to eternity. They like, truly fucking believe that, you know? I don't think too many like people like under the age of like 90 believe that anymore, even if they're like hardcore Catholics. They think there's like ways around it, but like I definitely like see like why, because like I said, like St. Louis is such a Catholic city, like why like older Catholics were so much more neurotic about shit.
Yeah.
Because like that really is what they thought. Like they thought if you did not get absolved by a priest after doing something really bad, like say you cheated on your wife and then got hit by a truck the next day, you're fucked. Well,
that's the concept of baptism too. Like, and like that people like, and I don't believe this to this degree, but like if a baby dies before baptism, they're like, yeah, there's a baby in hell.
Yeah, I mean,
literally a baby in hell. Again, I think God has more nuance.
It was supposed to be purgatory.
Sure.
If you're unbaptized,
I think God is much more nuanced than that. Like personally to me, but that was like what people believe. Like there are just things where it's just like, too bad, not my problem. But it's so matter of fact. I think that's what makes movies like No Country for Old Men kind of scary in a way. Is like there's just somebody who does not. It's like there's nothing I can do. This is the situation. You're getting shot by the cattle gun thing. That's it. And they do it in the way that like they're squashing a bug without even knowing it, or in a way like it's just this like very, very Like every other aspect in like Hellraiser, especially like 1, is like somebody calculatedly like doing something. But like the Cenobites are just like, we're just gonna put our hooks in you, and there's just gonna be charcuterie boards of like your head everywhere that we show people. That's just what happens, and we're gonna do that forever. You're not that important. However, we're not gonna let you go because what the fuck? We're not gonna do that. That's so scary to me.
Honestly, notice that another scary thing is was it Hellraiser 2? God, I'm getting mixed up. I watched them both last week, but I think it was Hellraiser 2 where yeah, it was Hellraiser 2 because remember the way it ends is that Doctor gets turned into a Cenobite. He then tries to kill all the other existing Cenobites, and they morph back into their human form.
Yeah.
So then the one who with the chattering teeth morphs back into a child.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was like, but you only see him for like a couple of seconds. Like most people like I bet like half of people watching the movie wouldn't even like notice that detail of it.
That's right. Yeah,
it is scary though. Like
that is really scary. Yeah,
like a child like went to hell and like got turned into a demon and was like forced to live like that. Which like technically though, like in the 1980s when that came out, the average like religious person would have believed that a child could go to hell. That if you're like a shitty 12-year-old kid, you could go to hell.
Or if your parents weren't married. I mean, like no, like truly, like that. There's people like bastard child. You know what I mean? Like that's what Flannery O'Connor's like Wise Blood plays with that a little bit. Like there's a woman who chooses not to do good because she feels doomed to that fate already. Like she's like, well, my parents were bad. I'm a bastard child, so even if I'm good, I can't go to heaven. So I might as well like just fuck around and be a whore, you know, like or something like that. Like so you have like there's that aspect to it. But again, I don't typically believe that, and I don't think it doesn't feel wrong to not believe that. It doesn't feel like rationalizing anything, but it's just like I don't think like bastard children or anything. But that's like scary. That's scary. Like if you were like, damn, that thing was a baby this whole time.
Yeah. Like I'm like naturally defensive about Catholicism.
Me too.
Just because I grew up with it, because I think like outsiders to it now appear to be having an idea that it's something that it's not. At least like in America,
sure.
Like the idea of like what a typical Catholic is like is not how it's really portrayed online. Like
they think it's Milo. They think it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, and just. I mean, God, we could go on forever about this, but I'm glad you're Catholic. You grew up Catholic too, because you know where I'm coming from. Because like it's like weird, like seeing people like talk about like people who grew up Catholic as like being this like weird, like we're this like weird like cultic branch of Christianity. It's like, dude, like I basically didn't view any Christians as being any different from each other at all.
No, I never. It was. It never came up. People wouldn't say like you. I wouldn't even differentiate from it. If like my friend was like, I went to church, I'd be like, oh, I went to church too. You know,
yeah,
like, it was just like, who cares?
Well, like I was telling like Granite Mountain State the other day about that.
Yeah. Sure.
Because when I actually didn't go on the field trip because I was sick that day, but when at my middle school, my class took a field trip to a Mormon temple, and like I was like telling him that because it's just, like funny because like. You see these like online Catholics now like talking about all this shit, just like talking all this incessant shit about Mormons, how they're not Christians. Like, dude, I went to a Catholic school over 20 years ago that was like run by the Archdiocese of St. Louis, and they had a school sanctioned field trip to a Mormon temple. At no point is anyone told that Mormons are not Christian. We went there because it was like considered like interesting. Like, oh, there's other types of Christians out there. Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
No, and like I feel like it's obviously just converts who are the ones being so fucking annoying about it. Like, dude, I had tons of friends who were not Catholic when I was a kid. Just because like kids in my neighborhood and shit who went to public schools. So there are different types of Christian. I didn't even know what types of Christian they were. I just knew they weren't Catholic.
Somebody asked me if I was a cradle Catholic, and then they laughed at me for not knowing what that was. Because I'm like, I've never heard that term before.
And like, it's just like, dude, like, I don't know, man. If you're American, you grew up Christian, and you're like under the age of like 50, dude, like, dude, we're all basically the fucking same.
I would go to Lutheran. I would go to a Lutheran mass because I would spend the night at my friend's house, whose like their parents were like, well, we go to church on Sunday. And my parents, who again we were Catholic, but they weren't like, my parents were not like hardcore about any of that stuff. But they would be like, yeah, that's fine. You know, like you can go to the Lutheran mass. Whereas like now you go on like the internet and everybody's talking about like denomination war. They'll be like, that's such an Russian Orthodox thing to say. I'd be like, please stop. Like don't ever talk about stuff like that. Like that's such an Episcopalian thing. I don't know. There's some of the church. I know they said one of them, like the one thing I've seen that like I think is actually true about denominations. I think it's Episcopalian, but they're the ones that are like most likely to put the tranny flag like out like on the church. I think. But
yeah, I'm not really sure.
But I know there's like one where it's like they're like they literally had like 10 other flags, you know, like BLM and all that stuff, like all over their church. And it reminded me of like the 6 Feet Under church that like the gay guys go to, you know, like it was just kind of like funny. But I was like, somebody tells me like, because it was a big thing. Like I'm a fan of like Notre Dame football. And if you play like Texas, they're like, it's the damn Catholics are coming to town. I'm just like, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't care. I don't care that you guys are evangelical or any of this stuff. Like, it's not like, I've never lost a moment of sleep over that. And apparently it's a thing now, but I'm like, dude, I feel like now people are like getting back into religion because of COVID. Let's be real. Like people found out like what it's like without a religious world. And that's like the only time you'll ever fall for like COVID. like truly is in like a secular world.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So like what I mean is a lot, and myself included, like I was like, damn, I really got to start getting back on my shit. Like, you know, like with that, because it's like everybody I know that was super susceptible to that propaganda just had the God-sized hole that people like Richard Dawkins say doesn't exist. But beyond that, like to get into like the inner workings of like, you know, oh, well, you know, Episcopalians do this and Catholics do. I don't care. And I don't think God cares. And I'll die on that hill.
No one gave a shit about any of this stuff,
ever.
Dude. Like up until very recently. And it's absolutely because of fucking social media.
Yes.
It literally is like, dude, I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. There was like one weird, like hardcore devout Catholic family, and like no one fucking liked them in my class. And like they ended up like pulling their kid out because like their school was like too secular, because it basically was like Catholic school basically was secular for the most part. There's just like some religious elements. Like I didn't know any. I literally did not know like these like any of these like hardcore Catholic like like Italian style, I guess you would say, that like people think Catholics are like that. I didn't know any of them as a kid.
East Coast, like again, it's also might just be more of an East Coast thing, which you know, whatever. Like I just know growing up, it was just like, well, we did this, you know, that was a church, and it was like I would be like, well, my church is really big, literally big. Like, guys, that's what was the difference between me and my friends' churches. And we did the bread, we did the communion. Like that was what was different about my church than the other. And I was just like, that's fine. I to me, like there's people that are legitimate. And again, like you said, there is this idea online that, you know, not that I believe in collectivism at all, but all you have to do is spend one moment on the internet, because you see people constantly searching for like a collectivist idea, but then dividing themselves into the smallest like drop down folder of subgroup ever, to where it's like 3 fucking people. And then they're like, that's this thing that's been around for a million years. We're that on the internet. And if you're not us, see you later. And I've always just been like, okay, so this is a dick swinging contest, what you're doing right now. Okay, great. Let me know when that's over. Let me know when the honeymoon aspect of your conversion is over, and then we'll be fine. Like, and half the time when the honeymoon aspect's over, they don't actually like what they signed up for, I feel like
it almost like reminds me of like those like guys who were like super sheltered like growing up, and then they go to college for the first time and they drink and for the first time, and they go like, you know what I mean? It's just like the inverse version of that. Yeah. And then they get like all annoying about like alcohol and like turn like alcohol into their life because they never went to a fucking party as a teenager. Yeah. Until they were like 18 or 19, you know, like
the The 28-year-old drug trier, rough.
All right, that's a whole different thing. Oh my god. Dude.
Yeah. No, it's but to be honest, it's kind of like it's because like it's you figure out like they're just like, okay, I found a safe place to do my thing, and now it's my identity because again there was nothing there before that. It's like that movie. You liked it, I liked it. I feel like the only two people like that movie, Friendship. Like the Paul Rudd, Tim Robinson movie, where you're like, holy shit, man, like that's exactly what it's like. It's people that don't have any interest in life. They don't have anything genuine. That's not like peering around the corner to see if anybody notices them liking this thing, or like trying to use it as like a bartering aspect to make friends. When you see that person like operate in real time, you're just like, wow, it's actually really cringy and embarrassing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you and me both could probably rant about that movie for a while, but
the overly agreeable, yeah, of course.
Because it's much more realistic than I think people want to admit.
Oh, that movie! I'm telling you, there's a lot of people I saw like, and again, if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. I'm not trying to say anything about this, but I know there's like, I think like everybody I know that like gets like sucked up to, you know what I mean, or like people. One of the things I like, the things of this show that like anybody that's ever like started hating on us was like super overly agreeable at the beginning, and then like they've like turn into like the diametric opposite of that, and then it's like over time and you realize there was never actually anything there, and maybe we're talking about the soulless people at this point. I don't know, like but it's just when you are watching that, I know it's not a horror film, it's not a Hellraiser or anything, but I was just thinking, whatever, like just that to me is like, these are the people that for a year will adopt Catholicism or I mean, again, these are probably people that were like super into atheism. Like we're like atheism as an identity rather than like, because there's a different thing about atheism when you'd ask somebody at a bar and they'd be like, I just don't really believe in anything. And then, maybe you get a conversation after that. But like, there are people that are just like capital A, like atheism, r/atheism people. Like those people are eventually, if they do get out of that, are going to become that annoying about a religion.
Yeah, man. Like, and this is like kind of ties into it, but just like I'm sure you know plenty of people like this. I'm not just talking about online shit. I'm talking about in real life, day-to-day interactions, acquaintances, whatnot. How common it is now for men in their 30s. I'm just talking about men in their 30s to just like change identities over and over again and like rebrand themselves, and it's like normal now. I feel like, do you know what you do? Do you know what I mean? Yes, I know people like this in real life. Like some guy who's like 33, and you only see him a few times a year, and you see him like 8 months later after the last time, and he's like kind of different now, and like it's obviously like exacerbated by the internet. But it's like, it's not just something. My point is, this is not just a thing you only encounter with people online.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are like, it's really weird, man. And like, it's hard to talk about with some people because so many people are guilty of it.
They get mad. They get really defensive. It's like, well, I'm not talking about you then, but like, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't tell you this if I was talking about it.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like it used to like not. I feel like it used to be like by the time you're like 30, you kind of had your like identity figured out.
Yeah. Or stunted millennials though, so it makes sense that like in your 30s, people like. I think there's like people would talk about like the quarter life crisis, but I think for millennials, the quarter life crisis is like 32 or like 30 at this point, because like we've kind of pushed back. Everybody goes to college now, whether they are good or not, but they push it back a little bit, push it back, and then by like 32, they're like, I'm for sure going to become this guy at this point. And you're like, fuck, don't do that, because just you are what you are. And I'm not saying you're a finished product. Like there's always ways you can like improve yourself, but like in terms of like big drastic changes, like just settle down, just settle into what you are. You should become like, your big drastic change should be like, well, this is what I am. I finally am happy with what I am. You know?
Yeah, it's like you're like 32 and you don't have a personality yet. Like
yeah, or haven't even come to terms that you don't have a personality. That's the problem. It's like, okay, maybe you're just a boring guy.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's like you'd probably be happier if you were just admitted that you're fucking boring. Like, you know what I mean?
And I think also like boomers, like I think this is like one of the first generations that this happened to, because like boomers and like the generation before them, like they just didn't talk about shit like with each other. Like my grandpa, who was of that, like, what was it, the silent generation? I guess that's why they call him the silent generation or whatever. Like he just like wouldn't say shit ever. And then after he died, I found out all this crazy shit that like happened to him. And you would have had to have like waterboarded him to get that out of there. And like, I feel like now we're like very outward about everything. So like we find out about everyone's embarrassing thing because they eventually just tell you.
I think the way it worked for the grandparents, at least like men in our grandparents' generation, was like you could tell shit to your like close friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of like guys would even like tell shit to their like close friends that they wouldn't tell their wives.
Yeah.
So and especially not their children.
Definitely
Like
not.
they I don't think my dad did that much shit about his own dad.
Straight up.
I think that was pretty common, you know. But yeah, that definitely was a good told. Like I think like then people were just like way more close knit for sure. Like
Yeah.
if you're like a man, there was only maybe a handful of people around you that knew anything about you.
Yeah, and also being like a male gossip back then was like, are you kidding me? Like you're a male gossip guy.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, like you're basically like effectively like the gay friend if you did that. Like, and back when having a gay friend wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Like that was like they're like, wait, you told another person what I told you? Like that's bad.
I think that I wonder if that all started like being like a gossipy man. I think that probably all started with like Gen Xers or something.
I think so. I think we're in like a new era. I think like these three generations, Gen X, Millennial, and like Zoomer, like this is like a new era of people. Like, because that's why like boomers are such like foreign objects to us. Like, you know, because like we're just like, wait, we like all say what we're thinking. We put microphones in front of us, like we tell personal details to people, like we do this. And with them, they're just like, why the fuck would you do that?
Well, I also think it's kind of why boomers are so crazy is because they're stuck between two worlds.
Yes.
Like permanently.
Yeah.
So it kind of has like driven them nuts. So like they want to be like, modern, but they're also kind of stuck in the old ways. And I think it's like kind of like making them senile. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I agree. And maybe that's an inevitable fate. Maybe we'll be the same way. Like maybe
fucking hope not.
I was gonna say I have a feeling like I haven't ruled it out. Like I'm gonna be doing the same exact shit like as they are with like not as much cool shit. Like that's the sad part. So yeah. Any other thoughts about Hellraiser? I know people will get mad. There's gonna be like horror fans that like find this on YouTube and be like, they didn't talk about it. I'm sorry, whatever. We talk about all types of shit.
I mean, dude, I have like a lot more to say about Clive Barker if you ever want to do another episode because like he's done other shit that I'm into.
Yeah, I want to watch Lord of Illusions. I want to watch Lord of Illusions.
When like Nightbreed is the movie he made, the second movie he directed after Hellraiser that was based on a book called Cabal that he did. I really like the movie. The book kind of sucks, which is interesting. The movie's way better, but he directed the movie. And yeah, like, dude, he wrote like he's written children's books that are actually pretty good. Like, dude, like he's a very, very prolific person. I actually remember I asked York about this one time, like because I always assumed he was maybe just more well known in the UK, and he said he wasn't sure, but I feel like you know, outside of like hardcore horror, like everyone kind of knows what Hellraiser is now, but like I feel like he deserves to be more well known because he's such a prolific guy. Like, dude, he's created 2 video games. He's kind of very Crichton-esque in a way.
Oh, for sure.
He had his own fucking line of action figures in the 2000s. Like, dude, he's done all kinds of shit, man. Like,
that's sick.
So yeah, there's a lot more to talk about with him. So
yeah, well, we'll have to do that again at some point because I am very intrigued by both his writing and his films. I really wanted to just talk about Hellraiser because I just love the concept of the cube and the Cenobites and stuff. Like I just found that to be so like because a lot of times like horror concepts don't scare me that much. Like I'm not that scared of like I don't know, I'm trying to think like what's something like that's pretty like I'm trying to think like I because there's a psychological element which I think a lot of people compliment Clive Barker for, is like his understanding of like psychology, and not like in the way that everyone's a psychologist now, but like he seems to understand like psychology of humans a little bit. And I think that comes through in his work. Whereas in some movies that are just like for me, like I'm not a very dream oriented person. So like Freddy Krueger doesn't scare me that much, you know, like I think the movies are good, but that he doesn't scare me that much. Michael Myers, it's like, well, okay, like it's a cool movie, but like does that scare, like that doesn't scare me that much. But like this inescapable aspect of life, like of Hellraiser, of like people, of like these Cenobite people just constantly needling at you all the time and just reminding you of like a fate. No matter what you do, like you're doomed to that fate. That's scary.
Well, did you ever see that the 2022 Hellraiser movie that was on Hulu?
No, is it any good?
Yeah, it actually is good. It's got
Okay.
it's got the tranny pinhead in it.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
but
you've sold
Clive
me. Yeah.
Clive Barker produced it. It's actually really good.
Okay.
Honestly, but it's actually, I would say, the scariest Hellraiser movie.
I can see that.
It's the dude who directed it. He made the Night Swim before that. I think that's what it was called. He made but anyway, it's one of those movies that like everyone was kind of expecting to suck, and it was actually surprisingly good. But
Okay.
The whole concept of like the feeling of like dread around like the puzzle box and like what happens if you open it, and like opening it and like knowing, oh my God, I am fucked.
Yeah.
That movie like does it really well. And like it is true. They have a tranny playing their version of Pinhead in it, which actually isn't that big of a deal because it's just presented as like an androgynous being.
No, I think that plays.
Yeah,
I think
so
that plays.
it's actually not that big of a deal, really, and it's not like a woke movie or anything like that. So don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, because you didn't hear about it. If it was, you would have heard about it. Because horror is the vehicle for like all of that shit now. Like any sort of like woke thing is like typically horror right now. And I understand why people are low on it, but like horror right now is like the state mandated 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, scariest thing I've ever seen. Like, and here's the cast, and here's the director's politics, which, you know, Terrifier kind of broke that mold, because I don't think Damien Leone is like, I think it's his name, right? Damien Leone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think he's like some bog standard libtard. So like that kind of,
no, he's not.
But people also, a lot of people also hate those movies. Like a lot of people like think that shit's like gore porn. I'm like, you motherfuckers watch gore in everything. Like everything has gore now. So you can't call something just gore porn. You know, like that doesn't really like play anymore because everything's really violent that's on TV.
Dude, I mean, honestly, man, like horror movies in the 2000s were gorier than they are now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Especially talking about the shit like, dude, like that's when like torture porn was the whole thing, and like, I get what people are saying. Like, there's like an annoying, like repetitive things about modern horror, like how they're all like. I agree that it gets like it's gotten old. How the whole thing with like a very slow movie.
The suspense isn't exploding.
And then all of a sudden someone's head explodes and it's like shocks you.
Yeah,
I get that. I absolutely understand it's played out, but like in terms of like gore, like it was. I think shit was actually way more intense like 20 years ago. Like, dude, did you watch any of those like slasher remakes from like the Hills of Eyes remake and shit from like the 2000s? Like, dude, those movies are like fucking like horrifyingly gory.
That's a great, you know? And those are great. I
like the Hostel movies and shit. Like
Hostel.
So,
is it Green Inferno? What's the one where the girl goes down?
That was like 10 years ago. But
that's
true. People go to
that was pretty rough. Yeah.
But no, anyway, I was like thinking about that recently though, because I've been rewatching Masters of Horror, and like that, some of those episodes are super fucking graphic, and like it's like way more graphic than any shit you'd see in HBO now. Like, because that's back when like Showtime used to be fucking sleazy though. But,
I think it's less the horror film, and I think it's more so like a show on FX about like a crime drama will show like gore, you know, like less so like it's less about like the horror movies now to me being like overly gory, but like the fact that you can, like I said, you can watch like literally shows like boomers watch on like
that's true.
Yeah, that's true. They're watching like people's like heads get cut off and stuff, and you're just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's true. You used to have to like go out of your way to at least
Exactly.
rent the movie
Like
or
anything.
something.
It's like any aspect of stuff now. It's like you used to, it's in everything, whereas you used to have to actively seek it out. So
Yeah.
that's like a Hellraiser cube. So well, Scott, thank you for this. This is the RC Halloween special, one half of it. So the other half is going to be Gain of Fiction on Song of Kali by or Kali by Dan Simmons, which is like an Indian artifact. I haven't read it yet, but I will by the time this episode has come out, of course. But which is like this haunted, like Indian horror thing, like about this guy who's like literally the opening scene. I don't think it's India, but I think one of the gods is like whatever, something like that. But like it'll literally like the first paragraph of like the introduction is like Calcutta is a horrible place and should be blown from the atmosphere. Like I hate Calcutta. Like it's and this is the guy who wrote like very famous series like Hyperion and stuff, and he has like a horror novel that a lot of people say, if you go on like Goodreads, people just say it's like extremely racist and stuff, and should not be enjoyed by people. So I was like, naturally, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go see what this is all about. So that's gonna be on our premium feed, guys, rcnow.org. Go ahead and head over there. So this will be like your Halloween special. Will be this coupled with that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll obviously, I know the holidays are very Christmas time is always a very busy part of you, but after the holidays, I'm sure we'll be doing a coast to coast. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. All right, guys. So on that note, everybody have a safe week, and we will catch you guys next time.